hope you understand me. That's like I've been telling you for a long time. These ICE agents, these mercenaries, this goon squad, these slave raiders, they're trying to provoke you. That's what they're doing. And the power structure is trying to provoke you. And if you're paying attention, you'll see that there's a campaign running right alongside these escalating ICE attacks, a social media campaign that's trying to incite you to violence, trying to incite you to revolution, to rise up, to fight back, on and on. They hope you will. I'm telling you, they hope you will. That's exactly what they want you to do. You need to understand that when someone provokes you, it doesn't matter, in any given scenario, when someone provokes you, they are trying to dictate your options to you. You understand? They're making moves precisely to try to draw you into making the counter moves that they want you to make. And the state is typically, in boxing, you've got strikers and you've got counter punchers. You have fighters who excel at and who specifically train to be counter punchers. Means they set you up to throw a punch because they are trained in how to deliver their most powerful punches in that moment right after you throw your punch. And typically the state, like I say, any state is most powerful as a counter puncher. They're baiting you to throw your punch because they've got that counter punch already loaded up, ready to go, locked and loaded. And you see, again, because you don't have your own genuine foundation. You don't have your own genuine moral structure. You don't have your own genuine frameworks, moral frameworks. So when push comes, the only thing you can think to do is shove. Even with all your turn the other cheek Judeo-Christian rhetoric, the truth is you were raised under the law of the jungle. Even if you live your whole life in denial of this as much as you possibly can, and you play along with the mirage of so-called Western civilization and all of your proclaimed values, but if push comes, shove comes next. You never learn how to not behave like animals in the wild. So if ICE pushes you, if the state pushes you, you feel boxed in, you feel cornered, you're only going to see two options, either lash out or give in, rise up or lay down. This is the binary zero-sum Western primitive thinking. And even if you tell yourself that you're rising up and you're fighting for democracy or for principles or what have you, for Western civilizational principles, truth is you're not doing anything but acting like a wounded animal. You're obeying the law of the jungle. You're obeying the law that governs your society, your culture. You're not rejecting that law. You're acting upon that law. You are fully subscribed to the idea that might makes right. And yes, like I said, that's the way that your society operates. So it's not wrong for you to think like that. Rights are determined by power in your society. And if that's the case, and it is the case, then the weak and the vulnerable cannot, by definition, have their rights violated because they don't have any rights to violate. So you want to rise up, you want to fight, because fighting is the only recourse that there is in the jungle, is the only recourse for securing your rights. Is if you can prove that you have the capability to prevent yourself from being violated and prevent yourself from being abused. That's the only way, only through power. So I'm saying your responses are predictable, and your responses have been predicted, and they're counting on you acting exactly according to that programming, because they're the ones who programmed you. Like I said before, this is a win-win for them. It's a win-win for the state. If you fight, then they can crack down, and if you lay down, then there's no resistance to cracking down. You understand? If you fight, then they can justify the crackdown, and if you don't fight, then they don't even need to bother trying to justify the crackdown because everybody's already submitted. So they can just do whatever they want. This is win-win. And you have no reference point. You have no framework. You have no well of moral, cultural creativity that could give you any other way to proceed. You don't know what else to do because your structures are all empty facades. So the outcome, I'm afraid to say, is a foregone conclusion. See, this is the part where the trauma comes in because you were raised on a fallacious set of empty principles about rights and about virtues and about democracy and the power of the people and whatnot, and the American dream and so forth. So it's going to be hard for you. It's going to be hard for you to come to terms with the reality of having no options. But the truth is, there is such a thing as too late. There is such a thing as no solutions. There is such a thing as not having the ingredients and not having the tools to make the thing that you want to make, which means it's not going to get made. And that's just the way it is. Look, thousands upon thousands, no, millions upon millions of Americans have been crushed under the tank tread of the American system while calling out to their star-spangled idols to try to intervene for them or rescue them. Meanwhile, it's Uncle Sam himself that's steering that tank over the soft bodies of the vulnerable in America. That's how your society is. That's the way it's always been. It's always treated everyone around the world that way, and it's treating you that way. And it's never going to be any different. You need to understand this. Yes, it is never going to be any different, because it has always been a false civilization. Those have always been lies. Now, I'm not saying that freedom and justice and so forth and all of those nice words, I'm not saying that those are lies. I'm saying it has always been a lie that your so-called civilization ever believed in them, because you never did. So don't be shocked. Don't be shocked. Don't be traumatized. You can't afford the indulgence of delusions anymore. And don't think that if you rise up like they want you to do, it's going to stop it or change it or save you. This is the society and this is the culture that you live in. And it's not worse than it ever was before. Something doesn't just start existing at the moment that you see it. And just because it might be happening to more frequently, or it might be happening against different people than it used to happen to, or that it has always happened to, that doesn't mean that there's been any sort of a fundamental worsening of the nature of that society. It's always been this way, and it always will be this way, because you live on a Hollywood set of morality. There's nothing behind those plywood edifices of principles and values, nothing at all. And you're going to continue. You're going to continue to live under the law of the jungle unless and until you learn a new way to live. This is the real dilemma. This is the real dilemma for Westerners. You know, for colonized people, mentally and psychologically colonized people, who still feel foolishly admiring of the West, you know, the indoctrinated mentality, thinking that the West is superior and so on, they can eventually renounce it. They can eventually abandon it. They can drop it, because they have an existing, a real and an authentic, developed civilization that they come from, which gives them something to return back to. You understand? Arabs, Asians, Africans, Central and South Americans and so forth, they have a history, they have a culture, they have their own existing frameworks. They can go back to that. They never needed the West, even if they got fooled into thinking that they did. They never needed it. They already have a civilization of their own. They already have a civilizational history. Westerners don't. Westerners have nowhere to go. Westerners have nowhere to turn. They have no history of civilizational development that they can turn back to. So you want to renounce the West, right? But then what? There's no pre-existing moral framework, no pre-existing value system, no pre-existing culture, no pre-existing belief system that you can go back to that's any different than the one that you want to abandon. That's the truth. You didn't adopt Western frameworks. You didn't abandon another framework in favor of the West like a colonized person did. It's in your blood. It's all you've ever known. It's in your cultural and your moral DNA. This isn't the case with colonized people, people with colonized mindsets and so forth. They left something else to adopt Westernism, so they can drop Westernism and go back to their own ways. But Western ways are your ways if you're a Westerner. So you're in a quandary. And yes, obviously, I'm talking mostly about people whose lineage comes from Europe. If you're a member of the global majority, someone with lineage from the global South, even if you are severed from your people and from your past and from your culture, to one degree or another, you do have access. You have something that you can try to relearn, something pre-existing that you can try to relearn and try to integrate with, something that was not predatory, that was not brutal, that was not hypocritical, that was not parasitic and savage. We don't have that. Westerners don't have that. Westerners with European lineage don't have that. There is no single point in history when Europeans ever believed in anything but the law of the jungle. It shouldn't even be called the law of the jungle. It should be called the law of the forest, the law of the hills and the valleys and the mountains and the plains, because we're talking about the law of Western so-called civilization. When we talk about the law of the jungle, it's the law of the Vikings, the law of Darwin, the law of Monroe and Roosevelt and Churchill and Machiavelli and Nietzsche. It's the law of Truman and Kissinger and Cheney and Trump. It's the law of beasts, of predator and prey. And if you come from that, it's all you've ever had, it's all you've ever been. And I know you don't want to hear it, but being told only what you want to hear is exactly what got you into this miserable state in the first place. I know you don't want to hear it, but truly, there is only one thing that you can do. There's truly only one thing you can do. Islam is the only way that is truly open for you. It's the only way. You can't become Chinese. You can't become Japanese. You can't become Zulu. You can't become Egyptian or Mestizo, right? You can't return to a culture that was never yours. You can't adopt a value system that was built over centuries, by a civilization that you have no connection to. And if you think you can do that, then this is just part of that same old Western dismissive reductionism that thinks that all you've got to do is imitate the exteriors of a people to become one of them. And again, that's been your whole problem all along.